Hello everybody, welcome to IT Skills channel. In today's video, we're gonna take a look at an important video, and that is how to configure a hybrid environment in our Microsoft 365 tenant. Microsoft AD Connect oops, here it is. AD Connect actually allows you to perform synchronization of all users, groups, and objects into Microsoft 365 M365 environment. So with the Microsoft AD Connect, you can perform password. I'm just gonna abbreviate it as password, PHS password hash synchronization, or pass through PTA, pass through authentication. So you can do that, and each of them have their own benefits, and you can do that. And so with that in mind, once you configure your sync preferences, whether you want to do pass through password hash synchronization or password authentication, then you can actually start seeing syncing OUs in Microsoft 365. So you can sync OU to Microsoft 365, or opt to not sync certain OUs in Microsoft 365. So that's what you got going on. And then once you do that, then you can take advantage of other features like having hybrid exchange, or hybrid Windows autopilot deployment. So it doesn't like me over here. This is meant to be L, guys. Sorry, my handwriting sucks like right now, but I'm gonna get better on it. So that's what it's meant to be. So when you do this, you can actually manage. The whole purpose of doing hybrid is ability to manage all user so you can manage all users identity on-prem. So this is really useful for organization that wanted to have a compliance with a certain organization like HIPAA, maybe government agencies that cannot, we don't want Microsoft to manage all their identities, or you maybe just organization that just want to have control of their user deployment, provisioning, and etc. User onboarding, etc. So it's just gonna give you control, control and flexibility. Over identity. So that's what we're dealing with. So this is what we're going to deploy now. So obviously, to get started with Microsoft AD Connect or Intra Connect is going to be, I'm just going to put in here Intra Connect. It's going to be, you're going to have to download a plugin, and then after that configure it and make sure you have a appropriate account permission, etc. We're going to talk about that in a little bit more later of the video, but that's what we're doing. Hopefully you're excited, and so let's get ready to do that. It's a linear scenario for us, and just to make sure that before we get too far along, we just can take a look at what our current directory setup looks like. So our current directory right now is, we have not set up AD Connect for over 132 days. The last time I did it, it was a server, and the server died. I didn't actually repair it. It was a VM. So basically now I'm gonna configure a nice server on the redundancy and everything else. We're gonna get it going. So by the time we're done with this video, we should see this where it says last sync directory recent, and we can also see other objects attributes showing up in the directory. So, and then we're gonna go back. So let's go back and configure. So I'm gonna say I agree, continue. We're not gonna use express setup. This is great for people who wants to use the basic bare metal stuff like password hash synchronization, PHS, or so I want to use PTA in this case, so I'm not going to do that. And plus I also want to only customize synchronization with a couple of OUs, not all OUs. So I'm going to hit customize, and here is going to actually allow me to specify a couple component. So if I wanted to import, maybe synchronization settings, I could. If I want to use existing SQL Server, I could. I'm not going to use any of that. So I wanted to install its own SQL Server. I could also I guess configure it to its own service account, but I'm not going to do any of that. So I'm going to use the default from this point on. So what it's going to do is going to install SQL Server Express, creates a custom account, and it's going to do all those things for us, which is what we want. The part where we're going to be concerned is where we actually have to specify, whether we want to configure PHS, password hash synchronization, or PTA, pass-through synchronization. Sorry, pass-through authentication, synchronization, pass-through authentication. So we want pass-through authentication. I had a brain fart for a second. So once we do that, then we can go configure from there. So all right, so now we're here. We want to go ahead and actually configure, like I was telling you earlier, we're going to do pass-through authentication. We don't want a password hash synchronization. That's the old school method, and it tells you each of them. If you hover over it, it tells you this options allow your user to sign in to their cloud using the same password that they use on premise, aka their Active Directory account, and password hash synchronization does not store or send clear text, which is still a good option, but we got this nice feature. Pass-through authentication enables Azure Active Directory to authenticate user using your on-prem identity infrastructure. So this is great for people who maybe get terminated. You wanted to disable real time. This will be fine, and it's going to be faster. Then validation with ADFS, we don't want to get into that. That's a different topic entirely. Validation with PIM failure rate or do not configure. So we're going to configure with the pass-through authentication, and then we're going to actually enable single sign-in. So we're going to hit next. It says here, we recommend that you have a global administrator account. So that's another thing I forgot to mention. So the requirement for this is you have to be GA, global administrator, and domain administrator. So for this to do this, if you don't have those permissions, you need to get back out of it and make sure you have the permissions appropriate. That's why this is done by usually a systems engineer, system architect, someone with high level permissions. That's what it's done by. No standard user will be able to do this. So we're gonna hit next. Here's where we're gonna go ahead and enter our global administrator account. So we're gonna put it. So we're gonna do customize, same thing we were doing earlier. We're gonna do next. We're gonna do PTA. We're gonna do enable single sign-in. We're gonna do next. We're gonna put in our credential once more. All right, so now it's gonna verify it, and we shouldn't get that annoying message again. There, we did not get it because we disabled that enhanced mode. So we're putting our credential here again because MFA is set up for my account. Everybody should have MFA set up for their account. And this is the portion where it's going to actually allow me to authenticate with MFA. Once I do that, then it's going to actually recognize that. So I'm going to have to approve. Microsoft MFA is really recommended for this. So it's actually denied for whatever reason. I didn't do denied. So I think somehow I may have accidentally hit denied. Let's make sure we don't do that again because I might end up locking myself out. That would be embarrassing. So we did approve it. Now it's going to verify that I have the appropriate permissions. I do have global administrator account. And so now it's examining the domain. Now we're going to have to see, this is the domain it found. It's called ithky.org. So I'm going to hit add the directory. Now here's, so make sure your username format is your domain slash the username, and then that's it. So once you do that, you can hit OK. Hopefully this time we got it. Good. It's gonna check our domain, examine the domain. So we add our domain, so we're good. And then we're gonna hit next. We can add additional forests if we wanted to, but now we only have one. So we're gonna hit next. It's going to retrieve the schema directory. So it says here the domain is verified. So basically, a lot of times what happens if you have a domain set up like, let's just say I teach.local, and then my Azure AD domain is something different, it will have a mismatch. So you're going to have UPN suffix. But in this case, I don't have to add UPN suffix. They do match. So I just need to click on next, and it's going to tell you select the on-premise attribute to use for your Azure AD. So you can choose different things like user principal name, different parameters, but I'm just going to use user principal name as a default. And then we're going to hit next. And then here is where you can choose which OU you want to synchronize. So you want to synchronize selected domain OU and this, because you don't want to synchronize everything. It's going to become a panic later on. So I'm going to click on sync selected domains and OUs. I'm going to drop down menu. I'm going to check this box, and I'm only going to sync this. We're going to sync demos, services, and then we can sync also manage service accounts. We're going to do the domain one. Which one? Why not? So, and then let's see. Do we have anything on the users section? Nothing really. So we can synchronize this OUs. Once we do, then they will only be the one that's synchronized. So I'm going to put synchronize the default domain, default computer OU2. So that's what we're doing right now. And let's synchronize Exchange security groups, because we are going to do Exchange hybrid and Exchange systems object. So in fact, I'm going to check this one. Just keep the security group. So let's just click on next. Next, we're going to actually have the option to, identify, uniquely identify your user, I'm just going to say mail attribute. That's fine in this case. Let's choose your source anchor, how your user should be identified in Azure AD. Your Azure is currently synchronized using MS Connect Grid, and we're right back to the source on-prem. Okay, that's fine. So that's fine. We're gonna keep everything default over here for now. Next, we're gonna synchronize all users on device under filtering. That's fine. And here's what we're gonna need to choose the optional feature. Whereas we have the Exchange hybrid deployment, we want that. We also want a password write back. We want group write back. We want directory extension sync, attribute sync. We want nothing else. So Azure app and attributes filtering. No, we don't want that. So we're gonna select all this option. This is more than most people will select, but we have a good reason why, because later on we're gonna add on to this video. So we're gonna hit next. And here we're gonna say group one. So actually I might have to undo the group. Let me undo the group. Directory extension attributes. We're gonna undo this one. And then the group is gonna be write back destination is gonna be that, and that's okay. This is more features because when I was doing this a lot of times I didn't see this. It says here write back cloud group with the name and with the cloud display name. So we're gonna check this box. Why not? It says by enabling this group write back distinguish name with the cloud display, the name and the write back group is distinguished name will be included in the Azure Active Directory group object display name as the common name in the distinguisher. So that's fine. We're gonna check that, and when we check it, we can continue. So we're gonna actually have to hold on. Group write back destination. So I guess we can write our group back, or write our group back to this destination over here. So we're gonna put it under staff. That's fine. So we're gonna write all our groups to the staff. So we're waiting for this now. Oops. I didn't even want to configure all of it, so it looks like it's actually, I end up clicking twice, so it went all the way there. So let's go back a little bit, because we missed the single sign-in option. So the single sign-in is over here. It's already ready, and so we're gonna hit next, and now it's ready for us to configure. Start synchronization process when the sync completes. Enable staging mode when the synchronization is not gonna export. So this is all we're doing. This is a summary of everything. So we're gonna do password hash. We disable password synchronization. We configure, password write back. We enable pass-through authentication. We did everything we're supposed to do. We're happy with what we got. So we're gonna hit install. Before I hit install though, because I do have the option to start synchronization process when the configuration completes. One thing you're gonna see is if we're gonna go back to our domain, we have a lot of users. So some users that are not there in the Microsoft 365 tenant should show up over here. So if I go to students, we have Mokhtar over here as a student. We have I teach skills account under staff. We have servers over here. We have volunteers. What else we got? We do have a couple users. I'm just trying to find out. So we have remote desktop stuff. We have, let's see, do you have anything on the standard user account? We do have a couple users on the standard user account, so I probably should move it. But the point is, once we do this one, we're gonna see a lot more. On the demo, do we have anything? We do have a lot more in the demo, so let's come over here to do we have any service account? We do have service account for Veeam testing. So we don't have a whole lot of accounts. So, but I guess what I'm gonna say is that we should see a user by the name of Mokhtar Barre, and then we should see a I teach skills account user. And so we should see that, and we should see a lot of computers. So that's what we expect to see the result when this synchronization is finished. So let's come over here. We're gonna hit install. So it's finalizing right now. It's installing the health agent, which is supposed to monitor whether our directory sync is healthy or not. It did a lot of things. I don't know if you follow this along the screen, but it basically is on the final stages of the configuring our Azure AD Connect or Microsoft Intra Connect, sync. That name is still hard to get used to it. So it's almost like maybe MECS. That's what we're gonna say. MECS, just to abbreviate it because I don't like saying that long name. Azure AD Connect sounds good, but MECS, Microsoft Intra Connect Sync, is like a lot of handful. We'll resume back whenever it's done, and it shouldn't be long right now. Congratulations to us. We were able to go ahead and actually finish configuring this. There's a couple of recommendations that we need to follow along, like enabling Active Directory Recycle Bin, which we haven't done for this newly configured domain controller. We also need to configure, Azure AD, Azure Active Directory, to use AD attributes as a source and attribute anchor. And then we also need to provide user single sign-in on experience by using seamless SSO to group policy. That's what we could do, but that's for now. It's just informational. We're good to go. So let's come over here. Now, if you look at it, go back to the Azure AD. Basically it's done. Like there's not much we can do about it. It's completed. But what we can do, the magic is gonna be going to the portal, the Azure, Microsoft 365 portal. I'm gonna refresh this right now. You should see this from 122 days ago to now. It should finish the syncing. So we're gonna refresh it. It says it last sync, 0 minutes ago. So that is doing something. And this is the new server, ITKY The server name is changed. And then, actually, before we configure this, we need to stay on track. We don't tend to stay there. So let's come over here and configure what you call check the user. So if you look at the user name Mukhtar, so you see this user is configured, it's unlicensed. You can see it's synced from on-prem. Everything is good to go. You can make a lot of attribute changes to the user. You can see the option here. It's synced from on-prem, so that's what we got. And if we go back to doing the same thing, R9. So this R9 is a user from on-prem as well, currently synced from there. So we're actually done for what we're trying to do. We're gonna call it a day because we did do what we wanted to do. We set out what we wanted to do. We synchronize our user. Everything is all good. So yeah, that's all it for the video. Thanks for watching. I will make another video about fixing this duplicate record, especially when you don't have access to your on-prem, AD Connect anymore. And in this case, that's what I have. So, but for now, we'll call it a day. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of the day. Peace.